Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, we're continuing on investigating the periodic table of elements, this time tackling the noble gases.
I feel like this is pretty appropriate because I feel like, especially you, are a relatively noble kind of person.
I can agree with that, but in true engineering fashion, I will say that I spelled it Nobel gases probably every time that I typed the word. So I learned one thing at least.
Yeah, and the problem is like autocorrect, you could do it either way, depending.
Right.
It doesn't find it. And until
Yeah.
people see what you're writing, they don't realize you're dumb.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you, Luke.
That is how they get you.
That
You
is
know
the
why they're
noble
called
gases.
noble gases?
No, I want to know why. I was just going
Oh,
to
no.
ask.
I was going to ask you. I
Oh, you didn't look that one up?
did not.
Okay, well, I'll tell you a little bit about noble gases. How about that? Because historically, they've also been referred to as inert gases or sometimes as aerogens. That's AER ogens. They make up a class of chemical elements with pretty similar properties. Under standard conditions, they're all odorless, they're all colorless, very low chemical reactivity, and I guess there was some debate with us between are there 6 or 7 of these puppies? And
There's
we've
7.
decided that there's officially 7 of them, right?
Officially, as of 2016, there are
Okay.
7.
And
Oh,
you're going to cover 4 of them,
I
right?
am, and I have the answer. So they are called Nobel gases. Noble, sorry. They're called noble gases because they are so majestic in that they generally do not react with anything. For this reason, they are also known as inert gases. So they don't react, like they don't mingle. You know how like nobles wouldn't mingle with commoners? Very few of these gases actually react with anything else.
I feel like that's a stretch in the naming convention, but that's cool. I'll go with that. Noble gases. All right. Do you want to jump into your first one?
I am, and I think you may have covered this one in our previous periodic elements. We were picking cool ones.
Okay.
This is Krypton.
Ah, yes, Krypton. I did talk about that one a bit in the
So we'll
previous
cover
one.
it again. That's
Yeah, why
okay.
not?
So Krypton, also capital K, lowercase r. It has an atomic number of 36. It has an atomic weight of 83.798, some unit I forgot to copy and paste. It has a melting point, and I don't understand these melting and boiling points. Maybe someone can explain this because they were all like this. So it's a gas. So I get gases can liquefy, but the melting point is negative 251.25 degrees Fahrenheit, and it has a boiling point of negative 243.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So there's only like a 8 or 9 degree difference in negative degrees Fahrenheit between melting and boiling. I don't understand that. My guess is it gets compressed, it turns into a liquid, and then it actually boils because of the compression and heat that occurs when it's being compressed. That's my guess. I'm not sure.
I like
Um,
that. Yes.
the
Well said.
density is 0.003733 grams per cubic centimeter. At room temperature, it is a gas, obviously. It's classified as a non-metal. It is period number 4, group number 18. It's in the noble gases, like we said. And interestingly, the name comes from the Greek word for hidden or kryptos.
That's not what I thought. I thought it had to do with Superman.
I assumed it was without a doubt Superman and Clark Kent and, all
What
the
do you mean,
likes.
Clark Kent?
Oh, sorry. I said something I wasn't
Spoiler.
supposed to. Sorry. Spoiler. So it was discovered on May 30th, 1898 by Sir William Ramsay, a Scottish chemist, and Morris M. Travers, an English chemist, while they were studying liquefied air.
Let me put this out there, Luke.
Shoot.
Sir William Ramsay, he's like an element finding
Oh,
machine. I think he
he
found all of these.
He has, if not all of them, I think he has 1 or 2 of mine.
Yeah.
Common uses, it's not a lot of uses. It's used in flash photography. And so this is one of the few that actually does react. So if you take krypton and fluorine and they react together, you can make lasers. Pew, pew,
Pew
pew.
pew.
Fun fact, From 1960 to 1983, the isotope Krypton 86 was used to define the standard length of measurement of 1 meter. And it was defined by the exact 1650763.33 wavelengths of a line in an atomic spectrum of the isotope. So the element was used to measure length because it was so accurate. I don't know what they use after 1983. My guess is they use, I don't know, a measuring stick or
A
something.
yardstick.
A
Right.
yardstick. I don't know.
Uh,
In the Earth's atmosphere, there is about 0.0001% krypton.
my goodness.
That's me.
That's a lot of information about
It is.
Krypton, Luke. All right. Are you good there?
I am. I'm done.
All right. So my first element was helium, atomic number dose. Do you know what that
2?
is? 2. Yes, very
So
good.
it's very light then.
Yeah, atomic weight of 4 point something very little. No melting point. Boiling point is at negative 452 degrees Fahrenheit. What was that book? Fahrenheit 451 or 454 or something, all about burning the books.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
And then
all
what's
for
his
burning
name?
books.
What's his
Ugh.
name? Michael Moore did the Fahrenheit 9/11
Yeah,
book.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, anyways, it's also boiling at negative 268.9 degrees C. Um, and that's all I'm going to talk about from that little table. Fun facts for you, Luke. Fun
Shoot.
fact number 1: helium is the second lightest element, only with hydrogen being lighter. Most people probably knew that, I hope. Fun fact number 2: if you inhale it, your voice sounds funny when you talk.
Did you ever see the videos where they inhale the denser ones and their
No.
voice gets really low?
No.
It's amazing when they do it. Like the
Are
high
you
ones
able to do that? Because I never could figure it out.
to do what?
Like suck the helium out of a
Oh my
balloon or
goodness
whatever.
gracious, yeah.
Oh, I was never any good at that.
You probably were just never. Oh, I could do it all the time.
I did not inhale, Luke. I did not
Yeah,
inhale.
right.
Okay, moving on. Helium was discovered in the gaseous atmosphere surrounding the sun by the French astronomer Pierre Janssen.
Wow, I
who
wonder how it got
detected
there.
You know, that's what I'm wondering. Like, we've
crazy.
really been set back lately. So he detected a bright yellow line in the spectrum of the solar chromosphere during an eclipse in 1868. So apparently, don't look at the sun during an
Seems
eclipse
totally
did not
reasonable.
qualify. Yeah. And so they initially thought this was sodium. This is some form of sodium we didn't know about. That same year, the English astronomer Joseph Norman Locker observed a yellow line in the solar spectrum as well. And he knew that it wasn't D1 or D2 lines of sodium, so he named it D3, like another line of it. And so they hung out for a while. Nothing really happened about it until 1895. And this is where chemist Edward Franklin used the Greek word for sun, helios, for naming the element.
Oh.
And then our friend, the Brit, Sir William Ramsay, discovered the existence of helium on Earth. Ramsay obtained a sample of uranium, or I guess it was a uranium cleveite, which contained uranium.
Gotcha.
And he found out that it produced a gas by heating it. Same bright yellow line as they saw with the sun, and blah, blah, blah. The rest is history. They found it. In 1903, they really determined that it was helium, and it became kind of official. Helium constitutes about 23% of the mass of the universe. That's a lot.
That's
and thus
a whole bunch.
It's the second most abundant to hydrogen in the cosmos. Not necessarily the case in the world, like in Earth, but in the universe, it's really high up there.
Okay.
Helium is concentrated in stars, where it's synthesized from hydrogen by nuclear fusion. Again, something we're not super great at on Earth. And a whole bunch of helium is found 7.6% in natural gas in the United States, especially like Texas and New Mexico and those areas. And then smaller supplies have been found in Algeria, Australia, and Russia. Ordinary air contains 5 parts per million. That's very, very small of helium. And the Earth's crust is only 8 parts per billion with a B. So really hard to come by.
How much?
8 per billion.
Wow.
Yeah, so really hard
Okay.
to come by outside of that natural gas. I have a whole bunch of other stuff going on here. Like helium gas is isolated from natural gas by liquefying the other components at low temperatures and under high pressure. And that's how it then shows up. So there's a lot of stuff about helium in the news kind of recently about using it as a fuel. And we're actually going to do another episode about alternative fuel sources. It may or may not be out at this point. I don't know. Kind of lose track over time. But check that one out if you want to learn more about the uses for helium.
And you talked about like where you can find it, right?
Yes.
I typically just go to Party City and get a whole bunch of balloons, and then I have
Fill
all
'em up.
then I have all the helium that I want.
Like up, right? Where they like
Exactly.
raise the house. Couple other things. Helium, what it's used for. Inert gas. It's used as an inert gas atmosphere for welding. And you use it for welding things like aluminum, which is traditionally very difficult to weld. It's used in rocket propulsion to pressurize fuel tanks. It's used in meteorology, like lifting weather balloons and things like that. Like you said, it's used at Party City, which is just amazing because why wouldn't you do that?
Sponsor. No,
Yeah, that
just
would be
kidding.
great.
Just kidding.
And high pressure breathing operations like scuba diving and things of that sort. And then one last thing, Luke, will it kill you?
I
Eh,
imagine in super, like if you only breathed it, you probably would.
So this is what I'm finding is that these ones don't really kill you, but everything had a little disclosure on it. Like breathing in pure helium can cause death by asphyxiation in just minutes. So yeah, if you don't give me oxygen, I'm gonna die. But really, it's probably not gonna
So
kill
my
you.
wife gets so mad when we have like balloons and
Okay.
I do the balloon trick and then
Uh-huh.
like all my young nephews and nieces start doing it. She's like, "You what are you doing?
You're killing their
Stop
brain
doing that. You're going to
cells.
kill them." You get a terrible headache when you do it. If you
Yeah.
do it a lot, you get a really bad headache.
I love it. All right, so that's all I had for it. Let's, before we go on any further, take a break for a word from our sponsor. Party
I'm assuming
City.
Party City, right?
I mean, they got like 9 shout outs already. No, we don't have a sponsor this episode.
No.
I know, I'm sad too. But we do have shout outs. Shout out number 1, Luke. John G. Longtime
Johnny.
listener, has
Nice.
actually listened through all of our episodes and has started over again.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that crazy?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, man, that's dedication right there. He suggested we do an episode on lasers, which sounds like a good topic.
Pew,
And I just
pew.
learned something about lasers.
I know.
So, lucky timing, John. Number 2 shout out, Dan R. This dude wrote in probably within an hour of us posting the John Deere episode. Honestly, like I barely even remembered posting it, and Dan hit us up with an email, which was awesome. He had some cool farming info for us, being a farmer himself. He says, according to the USDA, 97% of farms in the United States are family owned and operated.
Nice.
Isn't that crazy?
I feel like we should do an episode on like farming technology, right?
He offered to be our in-house farming expert if
What?
we need some support on this. So
Love that.
super cool. And I felt like the farming fact is probably the best one we're going to have all day.
Oh,
so
for sure.
thanks for that, Dan. If any of you have fun facts, you want to volunteer to be an expert, you have topics you want us to cover, you want some amazing stickers, you just want to say hi, any of those things, why don't you email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and as usual, you can always yell at any of your smart devices to play the Unprofessional Engineering Podcast.
Yes, you can, but make sure to say please and thank you because
Yes.
the robots are coming to take over. All right, moving on, Luke.
Xenon. And this is
The Warrior Princess?
Xenon, I think at Xena.
Oh,
Very, very closely related.
cousins.
Cousins. So it is capital X, lowercase e, has an atomic number of 54, has an atomic weight of 131.239. This thing melts and boils right around negative 162 degrees Fahrenheit. It has a density of 0.00588 grams per cubic centimeter. It's a gas at room temperature. It's a non-metal. Period 5, group 18. It is also a noble gas, and the
Do
name
you even
comes.
remember what periods and groups mean? Or are
It's
you
the
just able to read this?
it's the horizontals and the verticals on
Oh,
there,
okay.
if I recall correctly.
God, I hate chemistry. Continue.
It
Sorry.
comes from the Greek word for stranger, which I
Ooh.
don't know why. Like, I guess I could have done a little research on that.
Yeah, that's weird.
So again, this cat, Sir William Ramsay,
Willie.
in the news again. So he discovered this actually July 12th, 1898, shortly after he discovered krypton and neon. Krypton,
Spoiler.
exactly. So Krypton and neon and xenon were all discovered through the study of liquefied air whenever they were doing that. So that's when it happened. Uses. So this shows up in flash photography. So the super bright lights that you see are a reaction that happens whenever they're electrified. High pressure arc lamps for movie projectors back in the day used to use this. Xenon ion propulsion systems were used for several satellites to keep them in orbit. Um,
Interesting.
and the light emitting from a xenon lamp can be used to kill bacteria and power ruby lasers.
Wow.
Fun
I
fact.
don't know what a ruby laser is,
I
but it
don't know
sounds
what it is,
amazing.
but I need 2 of them.
It kills the COVIDs,
It,
apparently.
if without a doubt, does. The Earth's atmosphere. No, we can't say that legally.
Oh, jeez.
The Earth's atmosphere is about 0.000087% xenon.
A lot of it out there.
If you, here's the coolest fun fact I found about any of the ones I did. If you filled a regular balloon, the size of your head type balloon, with pure xenon, it would weigh 40 pounds. And it's filled.
Wow.
It's filled with a gas, but it weighs 40 pounds. This whole idea
that doesn't make sense.
that gases have weight is just so bizarre to me.
Makes no sense to me.
Yeah. So
Hurts my brain. That's
that's
very interesting,
xenon.
Luke. Xenon was a standout, I think. That was great.
It was a good one.
So my next one is neon, as you kind of alluded to here. Atomic number 10. I forget what that is in Spanish. 10.
Yes.
Atomic weight 20 and change. Melting point. Again, the melting and boiling point is so silly. Minus 415.5. Boiling point is minus 411. So, not a big space in there.
Mhm.
Neon occurs, and this is how you know that I wrote my notes by myself, which you usually claim I
sure.
did not,
This
because
was
of the
not a
way
cut
I
and paste.
describe it. No, neon gas occurs in minute quantities in the Earth's atmosphere, Luke. Minute.
I want you to close your eyes and spell the word minute and quantities right now.
Well, I'm looking at it, and I think it might say minute, but I'm not sure. So maybe I did type it. Anyways, it's in very small quantities in the Earth's atmosphere, and it's trapped within rocks in the Earth's crust. Though neon is about 3.5 times as plentiful as helium in the atmosphere, dry air only contains 0.0018% neon by volume. This element's much more abundant in the cosmos than it is on Earth. I think that's the case for most of these.
Yep.
Neon fact for you. Neon is the 5th most abundant element in the universe, it turns out. So pretty abundant.
I don't understand how they can calculate that.
I don't either.
I mean, I know that you and I are not smart individuals.
I try to make that very clear to all of our listeners.
I know, but the capacity to know how much neon there is in the universe, I just don't get it. I don't know.
Me neither. Then again, I don't know how a balloon can be heavy, so what do I know? As you said, neon was discovered in 1898 by Willie Ramsay. Also, if I could become a sir, I know that's not how it works because I'm not a British person.
Yes.
But man, how cool would that be? Also,
Sir-
when did it stop being a knight? Weren't knights always sirs? And then all of a sudden Elton John showed up and they're like, all right, you're one too.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few sirs.
Yeah.
Sir, there's a couple musicians that got it.
Gandalf is a sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if he only became sir when he was Gandalf the White.
Perhaps.
Back to neon. Luke.
Back to neon.
William Ramsay and Morris Travers were the buddies who teamed up to figure this one out. Very volatile A fracture of liquefied crude argon obtained from air was how this was found. Commercially sourced, it's the only commercial source is the atmosphere, 18 parts per million by volume. Neon, I think it's so cool how they find these. It's isolated from like a cold gaseous mixture by bringing it in contact with activated charcoal, which absorbs the neon and hydrogen. Removal of hydrogen is then done by adding enough oxygen to convert that to water, which, along with any extra oxygen, condenses upon cooling. And so all you're left with is the neon then. So processing 88,000 pounds of liquid air will produce 1 pound of neon. Seems like a pretty intensive process to
Very
me.
intensive. And I also don't understand, like, how do they know these processes to try?
Who figures this stuff out?
Like,
I'll slap some charcoal on there.
yeah, I just don't. It's just crazy that like that. I don't get it.
Fun fact, charcoal
Shoot.
is used to keep my wife's shoes from stinking. She doesn't listen anymore.
She clearly
I can say
doesn't
this
listen to the
stuff.
podcast.
Yes. Largest use of neon is making neon signs for advertising. In a vacuum, discharge tube neon glows a reddish orangish color. The only red signs contain pure neon. This I did not know. I feel like I've been lied to my whole life. Other neon signs contain different gases
It's
of
not
different
neon.
colors. Yeah, what a load.
It's an argon sign.
Yeah, it's an argon sign. Yeah, I did not know that was the case. It's also used to make high voltage indicators and switching gears. I have a friend who makes switches. I should ask him about this. Lighting arresters, diving equipment, and lasers. I think all of these are pretty big in the laser industry,
Yeah.
it seems. Liquid neon is an important cryogenic refrigerant, like Walt Disney's head.
That's
I bet
where
they
his head
use
is.
neon to freeze it, right?
Guaranteed.
It has over 40 times more refrigerating capacity per unit volume than liquid helium does, and more than 3 times that of liquid hydrogen. So that's pretty neat. Will it kill you? Same situation as with helium.
Yeah.
Unless you're getting locked in a room or putting a balloon of it over your head, you're probably in good shape. Before we move on, Luke, is it time to take a break for this week's Luke's Rant?
It is time to take a break for this week's Luke's Rant. And I'm actually changing this rant up a little bit, James.
Ooh.
And I'm going to send this out as a thank you to all of our listeners.
It is a new year.
And I'm going to say primarily the listeners that write in and give compliments to me. You have shared with me over the last year and few months. I very rarely get nice comments. It's usually about my inaccuracies, my deliberate, misleading of information. I mean, it's usually what people, but there have been quite a few recently that have been actually very complimentary. So I would just like to say to all of our listeners, from both myself and James, thank you for listening. We love the write-ins. We love whenever you guys do give us some of that critical feedback. It's okay every now and then. But yeah, so you guys are amazing. And over the break, this Christmas break, because we're recording this right after Christmas, I went through and found a website that consolidates all of the comments for blog posts or for podcasts, and I found ours. And I spent like an hour reading all the comments, and it just felt really good that people actually like listening to the show and get a ton out of it. And like I really, really enjoyed reading it. And then I had to stop reading it because my head was so big I couldn't fit out of the room whenever I was done. But thank you for all the great comments. We appreciate it.
I will double down on that. Much appreciated. Less so when it's saying nice things about Luke, but I get it. You're allowed to do that sometimes. It's really amazing to me. Like, with social media the way it is, you just kind of think of people being trolls all the time, right? But we get so many nice comments. People don't usually say like, hey, you did a terrible job on this and you got it all wrong. Even if we did get something wrong, it's usually very nice. And then they say, by the way, this is actually how it works.
Yeah.
Super awesome listeners. I really appreciate it. And I don't know about you, but whenever I go to a site that has all of the comments, I always scroll until I find a 1-star review.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Really
I punish
why.
myself. I punish
why.
myself. Yeah, but it's usually few and far between, so much appreciated. All right, moving on, Luke.
All righty, so this one is one everybody should be super familiar with. So my next one is radon. R, capital R, lowercase n, atomic number of 86, atomic weight 222. This thing melts and boils between negative 96 degrees Fahrenheit and regular right around negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Density 0.00937 grams per cubic centimeter. Non-metal. Period 6. Group 18. Noble gas. Special note: this cat is radioactive,
Ooh,
just like the song.
warning.
And it
Like the
comes
song.
just like the song, and it's named for the element radium. Um, so this one's interesting because this one definitely kills you, and we'll talk about that in a second. So radon was discovered by Frederick Ernst Dorn. He was a German chemist in 1900 while studying the decay of radium chains. It was originally named niton after the Latin word for shining, and Nittens, and then radon. It's been known as that since 1923. I don't know why they had all the name changes, but officially it is now called radon.
Yeah.
So radon is radioactive, like I said, and it's mainly used as a radioactive um, tool for chemical reactions and to initiate reactions in studies. Because it's radioactive, there's not a lot of commercial applications for this.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to call this fun fact, but I'm going to say bizarre fact.
Oh.
So at one point, people thought that radon was good for you. And there were actually spas out in Arkansas that they knew had really high concentrations of radon. It seeps through the ground, and they would basically like make sure they were in a very radon filled area in these underground spa areas.
It gives you a healthy glow.
And the reality was it was not good, like at all. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer after smoking
Ooh,
cigarettes.
is it?
And yeah, and the problem is it depends where you sleep in your home. So this is critical. So most all homes have some level of radon in their basements, especially if you live in a part of the country where,
Pennsylvania.
like Pennsylvania, where you have a basement. And what happens is the radon is a process of all the decaying material in the ground, and it seeps through and it comes through the cracks in your home. So in Pennsylvania and other states that have basements, typically you get radon tests before you buy a home, and it tells you if it's high or low. And the way they fix it, like you would think, oh, demolish the house, it's radioactive. The way they fix it is they just put in these vents that basically circulate the air to get the radon out of the home.
Yeah.
So super bad for you. Don't go to a spa that uses radon, and yeah, it's bad
when
news.
when I bought my new house, or I guess when I sold my old house, they came and did the radon test for it, and they were like, "Hey, you need to put a radon mitigation system in before you sell this." And I'm like, "Cool, happy to do that." Also, for the last 7-8 years, how's that been going for me?
Well,
It made me a little
but
worried.
what they say is, like I said, it depends on where you spend the majority of your time.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is why, if you're going to put a basement, like if you're going to finish a basement in a house and put like an entertainment room down there, you really should test it for radon again
Yeah,
before you spend a lot of time down there, because it is a thing where you have to be around it a lot for it to have bad effects. So
yeah. Fair enough. My turn.
yes, it is.
All right, have a joke for you.
Shoot.
What is a pirate's favorite element?
I
Argon.
You're terrible.
Atomic number 18. Weight is around 39.7 to 39.9. Melting point minus 308.6 F. Boiling point minus 302.3 F. Pretty interesting. Not really. The most abundant and industrially the most frequently used of the Nobel or noble
Noble. Either
gases.
way.
Fun fact:
Shoot.
argon was named after Luke. Okay,
Oh,
wait for it,
no.
because
Well,
that's a sweet burn that you don't even get
I,
yet, and I'll explain it here later. Argon gas was isolated in 1894 from air by the British scientist Lord Raleigh.
Raleigh, probably.
Fun fact also, Sir
Shoot.
William Ramsay was his partner in crime.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Ramsey.
So that
Strikes
was
again.
unfortunate. Ramsay. Um, Henry Cavendish, while investigating atmospheric nitrogen, had concluded in 1785 that not more than 1/120th part of the nitrogen might be some, quote, some inert constituent. Um, so basically, this work was then forgotten about for 100 years, over 100 years, until Raleigh showed up again and Ramsey, and they basically figured out that this was actually argon that they were talking about. Now, why do I say that it was named after Luke, or
Let
that
me hear
name's Luke
this.
after it? It's named for the Greek word argos, for lazy.
Oh, burn.
Yeah, that was a long burn,
What
or
a
a slow burn
jerk.
there. Basically because of the chemical inertness of it. So it's a very lazy thing. It's 12th most popular in the cosmos. So
There's a popularity.
popular.
There's a
Yeah,
popularity
I mean
contest.
abundance, but yes.
Okay.
A major portion of terrestrial argon has been produced since the Earth's formation in potassium containing minerals that decay, naturally radioactive isotopes of potassium 40. Basically, it slowly leaks into our atmosphere from that, kind of like what you were talking about with radon as well, I believe. Argon is isolated on a large scale by the fractional distillation of liquid air. Again, back to this similar process. It's used in gas filled electric light bulbs, radio tubes, and really interesting Geiger counters. So that horrible noise that Geiger counters make is all aided by argon. It's widely utilized as an inert atmosphere for arc welding, just like helium was. Used for welding things like aluminum or stainless steels, and for the production of metals such as titanium, zirconium, and uranium, and also for growing crystals for semiconductors. If you haven't, check out our episode on semiconductors. I think we did one just on those, didn't we?
I think we did.
I think so too. Check that out. If we didn't, we'll do one for you. So I never realized how useful argon is.
Very.
One weird thing I thought, fun fact, electric discharge of argon at low pressure is a pale red for your fancy neon sign, but at high pressure, it's a steely blue.
Ooh.
There you go.
That's
Will it kill
fancy.
you? Same thing,
Yeah, yeah.
non-toxic, blah, blah, blah. But there are actually, not so fun fact, 2 cases of suicide by noble gas asphyxiation. Seems like a lot of effort to me.
Yeah, it does.
All right. I know we're running out of time, but we have one more element to go. Let's
Last
hear it, Luke.
one. So this one is, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, and I listened to a video of this thing being pronounced 15 times.
I'm glad it's not me.
It's Oganesson.
Oh, yeah.
OG. Yeah, it has an atomic number of 118. It has an atomic weight of 294. Melting point, boiling point unknown, density unknown, room temperature. It's expected to be a gas. They don't even know.
That's a thing.
Exactly.
Yet they could tell me exactly how much neon is in the universe.
Exactly. Well, there's an interesting reason for that I'll get to in a second. It is a non-metal, period 7, group 18, noble gas. So this thing is radioactive and artificially produced.
Ooh.
It's named after the scientist Georgy Oganesson. Yuri. I'm sorry, Yuri.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually, fun fact about that, it's only the second element that was ever named after a person that was living at the time it was named.
What's the other one?
I should have done the research on that, but I didn't. There is a theory. So Einsteinium was supposedly right after he died is when they gave it its official name at the periodic table of elements party that they have whenever they announce the names. And it was right before he died, or right after he died. And there's a theory that they told him they were going to name an element after him.
And it gave him a heart attack?
But the reality is he did nothing for it. It was just more of like an honor. Yeah. So this thing was discovered pretty recently. So this was discovered October 16th, 2006 by scientists working at the Joint Nuclear Research in Dubon, Russia, along with scientists from the U.S. Department of Energy, Lawrence Livermore. And this thing was created by bombarding atoms of californium with ions of calcium.
Wow.
Fun fact, there's zero use for it because only 4 atoms were ever created. So
What?
I don't want to be a jerk here, James. You get your name on the periodic table of elements for eternity, and you made 4 atoms and there's no use for it. That's like it's like making an iPhone mini. Like, what's the purpose? Like, there's no reason for this thing to exist. Like, why would you make it? There's absolutely no reason for it.
That's amazing. It
Yeah.
does make me feel like there's a chance for unprofessional engineerium to exist
Yeah.
on the table, though.
You have to make 4 atoms of something and have no useful value that ever exists. So,
Wow.
uh,
What
so
an
bef-
interesting thing.
yeah, it is. So, before we wrap up, James, I would like to give a few of my own shout outs.
Ooh, I love it.
And there's a special thanks
You're
because
welcome.
I heavily used Jefferson Labs, and you can find them at education.jlabs.org, and the Royal Society of Chemistry, and you can find them at
Ooh.
rsc.org. Reason being, James, I used zero Wikipedia and zero videos for this research.
Wow.
This was
I am
maybe the first
impressed.
time ever I didn't use Wikipedia.
I got a lot of my information from lgm.ca. So I know we can't trust it since it's from Canada, but I think it was still pretty accurate, at least
Gotcha.
compared to Wikipedia. I'm impressed, Luke. Well done with
Thank
the
you.
avoiding Wikipedia.
I did.
If any of you are impressed with Luke's research, you thought this was really interesting, you just want to say hi, anything like that, why don't you email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com? And until next time.
See ya.